Hi, this is Kendra Moyer, and this week I am discussing week number 5's topic, which is loops. Loops are important in Python because they help you execute a block of code repeatedly, and you're going to come into situations where you have to use the same piece of code over and over, but you don't want to keep writing the same line. So the Python while loop, you'll learn how you can construct and use it in situations like in the calculator. While we want the code to be repeated while a certain condition is true. So the loops came in handy for the program for the purpose of allowing the user time to put the input in, but also allowing the programmer to set a point at which the program ends. And that's something that you kind of figure out with understanding that the while loop kind of points to a moment in time. So there's a while loop, which kind of when you first learn how to program, is one of the easiest ones to understand, because it says while the program does something for a mere period of time, it's looping, which means a piece of code is running repeatedly. And basically that can be used to keep your program running until a certain point at which you need it to end. Basically in our calculator program, I would use the while loop to repeat the question to the user if they wanted to use the four functions, or if they wanted to exit the program, and that allowed the program to continue until the point at which they did exit the program. So another type of loop is the for loop, which can also be used, but a for loop is a concept that it executes a piece of code over and over again for certain numbers of times based on a sequence. So it's more tied to an endpoint, whereas the while loop is more tied to a sequence of time. And you kind of get to see the difference in them often in the use of the range function. So the range function often will have a sequence of numbers come out in conjunction with the for loop. Some other things that go on with loops is that they help you kind of count out strings if you want to break them down into separate items. And both are just really handy in Python. Over the course of the lesson, I kind of went through and looked at different versions of the calculator. I did well over 20 versions of the calculator before I figured out the best way to make it execute. And in the process, I did pick up a lot of the concepts in the class. I feel a lot more confident due to the amount of calculators that I actually coded, that to where I was able to finally complete the project with less stress. And one more thing is that trying to get things done a little bit earlier really helped me this week. I have some anxiety about other aspects of my life, so I really want to learn this subject matter, so I take it very seriously, and sometimes I take it a little too seriously. So I've started to give myself a couple of days ahead deadlines, and that really seems to be helping me feel less stressed about the class and about the work. So I actually enjoyed what I did this week. I enjoyed the different calculators I made, and I had a couple of situations where my loops weren't coded properly, and they did loop continuously, but that was actually an experience that I needed to see to understand that you had to put an end point on that while loop so that it knew when to stop. So things like that came out of the lessons. I also was interested in the number of GUI based Python calculators out there, and initially thought that was what we were meant to do, but I was kind of glad that we were just doing something that was in a command line form. So yeah, so that's basically my thoughts on loops. They do come in handy for making a program execute certain pieces of code over and over and save you a little bit of time. Thanks for listening.